Do you want to scoot in?
Right here. I've asked for this, and I haven't gotten a response. So I left a message, so no one's gotten back to me. I need help.
Give us a try.
Okay.
Hey Cam, am I on? Hi everyone, Chris, are we live? Okay. So welcome to our third bond committee meeting tonight, focused on the performing arts needs and spaces. So I appreciate folks coming out for that tonight. A few housekeeping pieces. If you've been following along on the live stream or have been to previous meetings of this committee, we have been mixing it up a little and having a presentation from staff and stakeholders on what we're doing, what the focus is on this particular item, and then opening up to public comment so that if you heard or saw something that impacts what you want to say, you'll have been able to see that presentation first. So we'll do public comment after that. From there, we will have our committee, we'll go on to the workshop format. This is a public meeting. Everybody is welcome to stay. If you do stay and you find that it's hard to hear us at that point, you're welcome to come down and pull up a chair. We did find the format last week at the athletics. What I know means mandatory was we had the presentation, a lot of folks spoke, and then we got into the workshop. Quite a few people opted to go home and eat dinner, so no offense taken if that appeals to you as well. If you do choose to stay and want to hear better, come on down. Public comment went for about an hour last week. That's what I would like to keep it at this week. I don't anticipate a big problem with that, but 2 to 3 minutes. I will let you go. If I give you a little wave, that's an indicator that you're wanting to maybe wrap it up. And if you are nervous to speak or you think about something later, you can email me, pcollins@sad15.org, or even easier to remember is schoolboard@sad15. Both will find their way to this committee. And for those watching at home, which is awesome, and I've been hearing a lot out in the community that people are watching from home, so also feel free to email in your thoughts as well. Next steps, we will have a meeting next week at the same time on February 6th, where this committee will be discussing, okay, what have we seen, what have we heard, what do we think the next steps are, how does this align with what previous work had been done towards a bond, and what do we recommend, or how do we answer the questions moving forward. So that meeting will also be open to the public, and we'll likely be back in the library for that. I do want to thank the athletics and drama kids. It's worth noting that space is so tight, part of the reason why we're doing this work. When we had our athletics meeting, we ended up ousting teams who would have been in the aux gym, and tonight we ended up inadvertently canceling drama practice to be here in their space. So just want to thank the kids and coaches and teachers for their patience there. Just appreciate that. So I think that is the end of my housekeeping notes. I'm going to turn it over to Emily Flynn, who's going to give us a presentation on performing arts at G&G.
Hear me? Yes? Okay, great. Thank you all for being here tonight, first of all, and also this information that's here is really a conglomeration of info that I got from all of the arts teachers, the performing arts teachers in the district, so thank you to them for helping me put this presentation together and get all the necessary information, and of course both of them are here this evening, so we'll be here for any questions or clarification that we need. So the way I set the presentation up was to kind of give everybody an overview of what we offer here in the performing arts and what our students do and what performing groups we have and how we use the facilities, how much we use the facilities, and then I follow up with sort of some of the challenges that were presented with the facilities and equipment and kind of what our hopes are, things that we feel could be improved. So, right from the beginning, these are our sets of schools, and these are the performing arts groups that are offered. High school has Patriot Players, which is our drama group, and then for music we offer concert band, chorus, color guard, and Patriot Jazz Band. In the middle school, we have the drama program, and then for music, we have chorus, band, chamber singers is an auditioned group, and jazz band is a subset of the band as well. And then for the elementary schools, all of those programs are just general music at this point. There aren't any specific performing groups, but all of those general music programs do performances for the community in winter and spring. So first I'll start with Patriot Players. This is coached by Eric Walker. He is our director at the high school. We have 3 annual productions: fall musical, the competition 1 act, and the spring production. Our competition history is very strong. We were a state festival runner-up once, so this is since 1995. Regional champion 7 times and regional runner-up 9 times. And that's all with the competition 1 act that we do every winter. So this, oops, I am sorry. So this chart, we put this together to kind of show, break down the 3 shows and to show kind of the usage of the stage just by the theater group alone, and also to talk about our audience numbers that we see. So fall musical, September to November is the rehearsal and performance time for that. 4 performances, roughly 225 audience members, and of course, I would say right now we're more towards the 20 to 30 range with our cast. And as those numbers increase, hopefully we're kind of still feeling the tail end of COVID. And the numbers we're seeing at the middle school indicate that we're going to have much larger casts as time goes on. So these audience numbers, 225 for the musical, I think would be an increase as based on what we see at the middle school. And they rehearse in the space from 2:30 to 6:30, 5 days a week. And if you can see the chart, and it explains each one. I don't need to read every single thing to you. The reason we wanted to highlight it is kind of to show the number of hours that the stage is in use. And I also want to point out that this is not just rehearsal time. Mr. Walker has, as does Ms. Gerard, the students do everything. So this is time for set building. This is time for light work, sound work, then the rehearsals, staging, music rehearsals. We do a lot of things on this stage the second that school is over. Okay, GNGHS Band, directed by Carol Clark. So right now we have 27 participants in the band. Again, a number we expect to go up. Really active performance schedule for the band. The different events they perform at homecoming, school pep rallies. We have a night of performing arts. That particular event you'll see for all the different groups. It incorporates the high school theater, the high school music program, some members of the middle school program, as well as color guard, jazz band. It's a great night, and that's where the high school has a chance to perform for the community their 1-act play that they bring to competition, and it also highlights the other groups, so that's a nice night. We do our winter spring concerts, elementary school enrichment concerts, so that's when we go, the band will go to the middle school and elementary school to get them excited about the programs to come and do sort of little educational based concerts at the schools. They do the Memorial Day parades for Gray and New Gloucester. They perform for the Maine State Legislature. They go up and perform the anthem. They have the University of Massachusetts Band Day, which is at UMass Amherst that they do every year. Just huge, exciting, full day for the students, meeting with bands from all over New England, and then perform at graduation. So we have 27 in the band, 12 in the jazz band, and I believe all students who are in the jazz band are also concert band kids, and then we have 8 color guard students. Jazz band and color guard rehearse after school, sometimes on the stage, sometimes in the band room. District, state, regional competition. So the District 2 Honors Festival, for this year, we have 2 students from the band who will be performing in the District Festival this coming weekend. The All-State Festival, we have a student French horn player who will be going in the first chair. And then the All New England Band Festival, we have 4 students going this year. Very exciting. Recognitions in the past, 2020, the band received the NFHS National High School Heart of the Arts Award for their service to veterans. And every year we are, or at times they have been invited to the New England Honors Festivals as well. So GNGHS Chorus, directed by myself. 19 members in the chorus so far at this point, really low number. Hoping for that to really, middle school numbers indicate that that will really jump. Annual performances, pretty similar to the band with some different things. Winter, spring concerts, pep rallies, all those things. We do caroling in the communities. We participate in the performing arts. We perform the anthem at the Sea Dogs every year in the spring. We perform at graduation, and we also do community outreach performances, local nursing homes or schools, other things we're asked to do. District, state, and regional competition. So this year we had 12 students attend the district festival in Windham. That was last weekend. That went beautifully. I'm so proud of that number. And the All-State Honors Festival, we have 1 student going in May. Also exciting. All-State is highly competitive, so to have any students going is really thrilling. Okay, so now the middle school, GNGMS Chorus, big difference. Same number of grades, 75 students in that program, and we're really, I'm anticipating that at least 2/3 of that number will come up here, and I think we'll lose some to scheduling. That always happens, but sometimes you gain some too, depending on what happens. But I am anticipating we'll have a huge growth in the next 4 years. The performance ensembles for the chorus in the middle school, we have a 5th and 6th grade chorus, 7th and 8th grade chorus, and then a 17-member auditioned chamber singers group. Similar events, winter, spring concerts, caroling at Pineland this year. I think that will become an annual event. Performing Arts Night, community outreach, same kind of things. And then in District 2 this year, 10 students went from the middle school, which was fantastic. There they are, look at that. They look like they came with the frame. They're so cute. Okay. All right. Okay, and here's our GNGMS band, directed by Jared Bishop, who's new this year and is doing a fantastic job. We have 78 students in the band program, which is terrific. So a big contrast to our 27 up here, and we do expect those numbers to keep coming. I'm sorry. So there we have 5th grade band, 6th grade band, and 5th grade band really starts off as more of a lessons kind of thing and turns into more of ensemble work later in the year. And then they really hit the ground running in 6th grade with the ensemble work. Then we have a 7th and 8th grade band and an after-school jazz band. Performances for them, winter and spring concerts, and then the Memorial Day parade. And they had a student attend the district festival this year, or will be attending the district festival next weekend. GNGMS drama. So directed by Michelle Gerard, 60 students in that program, fantastic. have a drama workshop that they do from September to December. So that's not a show, that's really more almost like a training thing with theater exercises and things like that to get them ready for a performance opportunity later in the year. So they do an annual spring musical that begins in January and they perform in April. The same thing as the high school. Students perform on stage, create sets, work on stage crew, help run lights and sound. It's a really all-encompassing experience. And they do 3 performances in their cafetorium, which is sold out full every night. And so now the Memorial Russell Schools and the Dunn School. Those programs are run by Erin Margaret Libby and Jennifer Reber. They have all of their students K-4 perform what they work on with general music. They do a winter, spring concert, and they use the middle school gym for those performances predominantly. They do some spring outdoor performances that they tried, I believe that started last year, to accommodate the numbers. In order for them, they really need, they have a 500 to 800 audience because they're bringing in everybody that participates in music class. So space is a real issue in that case, and the middle school gymnasium at this point is the only space we have that would accommodate such a number. Okay, so that leads to limitations on current space, and that's kind of where I was going with talking so much about numbers and where we're rehearsing and where we're performing and how much these spaces are used. So we have a lack of adequate space for elementary and middle school concerts to accommodate over 500 audience members, and even then I think they have to break them up. Or the gym is packed to the max. You probably can't see well in this picture, but it's standing room only of the middle school gym. Not a terribly comfortable situation. The middle school athletic practices and games have to be canceled for multiple days to accommodate concerts. In the winter, our concerts tend to all fall within the same week and pretty much wipes out basketball rehearsals. Rehearsals, okay. Practices, I've been doing that my whole life. My sporty siblings made fun of me my whole life. Yeah, so that it causes a great deal of problems and stress for the athletic coaches at the middle school, and you know they try to find alternative spaces, but in a lot of cases it's canceled and it's problematic. It would be like us losing a week of rehearsals before a play. Lengthy high school and middle school drama productions and high school concerts are in cafetoriums with uncomfortable plastic chair seating. We provided those for you tonight so that you would have an authentic experience. Yeah, it's not comfortable. I mean, the productions for a play generally last 2.5 to 3 hours. It's a long time to sit and be uncomfortable. And it does affect people with older, especially older members of the community, grandparents, people who want to come see. It's a consideration for sure. Lack of stage time for necessary rehearsals. Approximately 500 hours of rehearsals take place. I know we would, in the music department, love to have a space that is just for performing arts. As you see right now, we are in a cafetorium. So during the day, this space is used for food service all day. So if we want to use this space, we have to ask for accommodations to have the room shut off, and that's an impossibility during lunches. Also, there have been times we've brought programs in, performances in, like for example, the University Singers will be coming in March, the University Band came 2 years ago, and all of those things have to be worked into like a very narrow space of time where we have to be on and off for food service. And it also puts a great deal of stress on our custodians who have to set up, tear down. We have students eating lunch up here. We have tables set up here. So that's just a constant stress on the staff and on everybody trying to share this space. It is difficult. So it would be really wonderful at some point to have a space that is just for performing arts that we could use, because we use this like a classroom. I went over that. Custodial staff, chairs are uncomfortable, instructional time is limited, frequently interrupted due to food service, that's all there. Storage and equipment, limited space to store risers at the middle school and high school. That's a huge problem in both places. If we were to have a performing arts facility that was meant to permanently house nothing but performing arts, there would be a goal to have storage and have all the equipment needed for performances all in that one place. At this point, we're rolling risers to and from the music room in the middle school to bring it into the gym. We're finding places to store them. Because all of the performance spaces are cafetoriums, none of them really have adequate storage for all of this equipment. So it's sort of, we were asked, does anybody in the district want these extra risers? People are kind of constantly trying to like push the risers off to each other. It's a significant issue, and when this curtain is open, you'll see like the amount of stuff that is stored on the stage. We have an outdated lighting system at the high school. It's 17 years old at this point, and it really, that can be a huge issue. And I mean, if a lighting system shuts down or breaks before a performance, that's it, you can't have one. Lights are crucial, and that's a huge investment lost should you be in a situation where it shuts down. Acoustical shell is not adequate to accommodate the band and chorus. When you perform on a stage, if it's not in a concert hall, you really need a shell to put behind a performance group, because otherwise all of your sound is sucked up by the curtains and the fly space. Which doesn't seem like a big deal, but truly it's really heartbreaking when you work it and you practice and you have this sound, and then you come out here and the sound stops right here. And all of a sudden, it's just not the sound that is comfortable to work with, and the product that you are showing the community is nothing like you know you can do. That's really hard. So a shell would be a necessary piece of equipment. We have a small one now that does go around our 20-piece chorus. It doesn't back up the band. We use other pieces to bring in to cover that. And then, of course, once we have the numbers we hope for, more of like a 70-person choir up here, that shell will not cover them. It will only cover a small portion. In the middle school, sound equipment must be rented to perform because the cafetorium there is not set up for performances really at all. And same problem, lack of storage for theater props, costumes, set materials. We have one big storage spot back there, but really we're just finding places to keep things all over the place. Lack of classroom space for high school music. This is a huge problem. Right now we are tight with a 27-person band and a 20-person chorus. 20 people in the chorus room is comfortable right now. When it's 60 or 70, I don't know where we're gonna go. The band is already full with the amount of equipment in there. Our rehearsal spaces for music are really fairly inadequate. They used to be locker rooms. They were converted into spaces, and certainly we appreciate the space we're given and any efforts to do it, but it really is not an adequate space. There's no acoustics at all. There was no design involved there, and a music rehearsal space really does need that. I've talked about that. For acoustics, lack of storage. Yes, the lack of storage equipment in the band room is a huge problem. So priorities for supporting the program, I think first and foremost, the expansion and renovation of the high school chorus and band classrooms is going to become a need. We are literally not going to have room in those classrooms. Convert the cafetorium into an exclusive performing arts space, which I've talked about. Updated seating in the theater with comfortable, stable seating that will also increase capacity, and new acoustical shell and band risers for the stage. Yes, and the band has been in need of risers for years. Priorities, same thing, I'm sorry. Improved acoustical design throughout the theater. Yeah, so this is a cafetorium and it was a gym. It's in no way designed for acoustics, and it shows it's probably the worst acoustical space I've ever worked in. But I love it here, I just want to say that. I do. replace outdated lighting equipment. That is a need. That will need to be done sooner rather than later. The uneven stage floor, I don't know if you can see here, we go from the black tile to the wood, and there's a lip here. This is unsafe, unsightly, problematic. And we need increased storage. We need increased storage everywhere. And our wish list. So this is maybe not needs, but would be really lovely. To have a ticket booth and concession area. Right now we do it out in the lobby. It's kind of a cramped situation. Move the lighting booth to center. It's off to the side now. Ideally, to have it central and up there would be the best. Monitors in the green room and on stage. People need monitors when you're having a show up here, when people are backstage. It's nice to have monitors so you can hear what's going on. Otherwise, the only way you know what's going on stage and where you need to be is to be in the wings, and that can be very problematic when you have too many people. Easier access to lights. The only way to get up to these lights now is with a scissors lift. Ideally, you would have a catwalk where someone could access by a ladder and walk up there and replace lights. It's a fairly dangerous situation otherwise. And a new cyclorama, which is the curtain in the back of the stage that's become like old and in desperate need of replacement. And that is it. So thank you so much for listening to me. Do you have any questions or comments? Or at this point, Penny, you take over?
Yeah, I'll take over.
Or do you need it?
Actually,
I'll stay here.
You can come.
I come back? Thank God bless you.
No, it's fine.
You're good. Before we move into public comment, we did it a little bit. Mike.
Use
Oh,
mine.
sorry. I was trying to avoid it. Before we move into public comment, we did a little bit of this last time where Sadie could ask you to talk about use of the gym and such outside of just athletics, but in like the day-to-day for students. Do you want to chime in a little bit on the use of, any use of the space outside of these things before we do public comment?
Sure. I think Emily did a great job kind of highlighting the drama, chorus, band. But in addition to that, our struggle is again using this space for breakfast and then trying to take it down and use it first block for chorus and or band, then break it down again for second chance breakfast. So it's constantly moving things around. They're not able to perform out here. They have to kind of cram in the classrooms because this is being used for breakfast, lunch, and or second chance breakfast. So as Emily alluded to, each time there's movement, it's multiple staff, multiple hours, just to kind of take in the setup and down. So we do have student helpers sometimes, but again, it's definitely used a lot throughout the day. There really isn't a time, I don't think, throughout the day at all when there isn't students in here. So that definitely doesn't give them space to practice or rehearse in any way throughout the day out here on stage. So I think this definitely would be a need for sure. And as Emily said, if anyone's seen our classrooms, the chorus classroom as well, there isn't even desks because again, the students have chairs, but very limited space to be able to practice. So it'd be nice if they couldn't fit in their classroom to have this space to be able to use or have some additional space.
Okay. All right, so now, before we move into our discussion piece, we want to welcome public comment. We have another setup up top. Chris, do they have to do anything other than just approach it?
They should be good to just.
Very good, Cam, we're good? Okay, we have actually one of my favorite performing arts students back there helping us tonight when he could be at home. Say hi, Cam. During all our time. So I'm going to turn it over to public comment. Feel free to step right up and share your thoughts with us at the microphone.
Mr. Murphy.
So my name is Zachary Murphy. I am a senior here at the high school. I have had the privilege and the honor to be able to perform at Granite Gloucester since 5th grade with Miss Gerard. I worked with Miss Whitney when she was here. I always wished I could do band in middle school, but it wasn't an opportunity for me. And then I got up to high school. I was able to join band through the lab band program with Miss Clark. And when Miss Flynn joined, I decided to re-enter the choral program, and I have now gotten the experience to be involved in each of our performing arts ensembles here. I have to say that I really love this space, and this is home for me. I have done countless shows at this point here, but as Miss Flynn and Ms. Grealish had mentioned, the facilities are lacking in many departments. One of the biggest things with our food service is oftentimes the general public might not realize that they're being disrespectful, but oftentimes at rehearsal we find ourselves with craisins, food, scraps, trash all over the stage, which really, it makes it hard to have a show when you're constantly having to clean up and deal with things. I know a lot of the time when I go to other schools and I see their beautiful auditoriums, I see signs, no food or drink, etc. This weekend, I had the privilege of going to Windham High School and participating in the District 2 Honors Festival at their wonderful Performing Arts Center, and looking at the comparison was shocking. I spoke to other students from schools all around District 2, which is a huge area of Southern Maine, and whenever I mentioned the fact that we had a cafetorium, I could see the dread on their face, realizing that we are not up to par. And the fact that we still managed to be able to send countless students to these performing arts honors festivals. This year, Ms. Flynn gave up the numbers. I remember last year we had 18 people audition and 16 made it in. We have had massive success in our honors programs, and I really have been proud to perform here. But again, it would be lovely to see like an increase and a focus on getting some of these facilities up to date and really ramping up production for just general performing arts ensembles. I also know that this space is used in the spring a lot as an awards site type setting. Scholarship night, sports awards, musical awards, it all happens here. And so that's hours that our staff, our custodial staff has to set up when we could just have a place with seating and that would be accessible for whoever needed it whenever they needed it.
Thank you, Zach.
Hello, I wasn't going to speak, but I will. My name is Nick Collins. I have a middle schooler and a high schooler, and they're both involved in theater and chorus. And participation in the arts provides them with all the opportunities for grit and determination, competition, success, failure, as any extracurricular activity or sport. This is their sport: arts, chorus, theater. And these kids are deserving of facilities that match the communities that surround us. In addition, I have been volunteer for, 7 or 8 years now with Cumberland County Children's Theater. Used to be the Fiddlehead Children's Theater group. And we are a theater troupe without a home. We've done a bunch of shows here in the past. And we're coming back here in the spring to do a show as well. So I'm pretty familiar. I designed the sets, I built the sets, so I'm pretty familiar with a lot of the limitations here. I think Ms. Flynn covered them all pretty well. Accessing these lights to change them for the show is super difficult because you got to get a scissor lift down here, which is very difficult. That's coordinated. The light board is totally maxed out in terms of what you can have on it. The cyclorama, which is the sheet in the back that is usually lit with bright colors, limited in terms of how many lights can be thrown on that at any time. So there is a lot to be improved here, and I just want to throw my support behind giving these kids proper facilities and everything they need for a great experience. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sarah Penna, and I am part of the theater program here. And mentioning the safety and security of us and other people here, the lights for one, with it being very dangerous to try to change them or fix them in any way, and the stage, how you could slip or parts of it are broken off on the black piece due to people tripping on it. and that could lead to an injury. There are open equipment and materials and like big pieces of wood backstage where people could get seriously hurt if they're not careful. We have had people climbing on our set, either part of theater or not part of theater during the day or after school. And we have had an instance where while we're performing for a dress rehearsal, 90% of the cast and crew were backstage, either changing or preparing things, and some students from across the street came over and they were playing with our props. They were just on the stage, touching all the sets, pieces, and they went backstage where there were multiple people changing in the green room, and we only have 2 bathrooms in the green room, which can lead to limited changing space. So a lot of times people like just all face the walls and change because we need to get ready. And well, there's people changing back there, so we had to tell them to leave, and they were a little frustrating to try to get to leave, and that can lead to other issues. Like obviously they could have other people could have been very exposed in the moment and not expecting some students who they don't know to come backstage and see them changing. And it can also, like we have electrical boxes back there, someone can mess with it, and the sound light booth, that door, it's not really as sturdy as like our other doors that we have here. So if someone really wanted to, they could probably get in there and possibly damage thousands of dollars of equipment.
Hi there, I'm Cindy Schaefer. I have 2 kids in the school district here. I have a senior and I have a middle schooler. My senior is a 3-sport athlete. He's graduating this year. And my daughter is also a 3-sport athlete in the middle school, but she loves theater. And she was part of the theater troupe that Nick Collins mentioned, the Cumberland County Children's Theater, or the Fiddleheads group. She fell in love with it seeing the show here. So that's also something she loves in addition to sports. And I would say also piggybacking on what Zach said, and what Nick said, this is some kids' sport, okay? Some kids don't play sports, and they deserve a space just like the basketball team deserves a good court, or the football team deserves a good field, or the lacrosse team deserves not to practice in the parking lot. Everybody deserves something. They deserve to further themselves. And I don't think that the arts should be forgotten. So that being said, going along with the safety thing that our last speaker just talked about, people don't just go on the football field or the lacrosse field after a game. There's a fence there. They respect that. Why they don't respect the boundaries of our performing arts kids is that's sad. So if safety is an issue, then I'm glad that that was brought up, but mostly just these kids deserve it too. And the seating that Ms. Flynn brought up, and that I know from seeing a show in here before, it's a tough situation because it's almost first come, first serve a lot of times. And if you've sat back here and you can see, it's not stadium seating, it's just flat. So you have to kind of dodge people and look between the tall person that inevitably sits in front of you and to try to see the stage. And there's other, we've been to other theaters, like the theater troupe. We performed at the Schoolhouse Theater in Standish the last few years. It's a 150-seat theater. It's pretty small. But they had great stadium seating, so you could see the stage from anywhere you were. There wasn't a bad seat in the house. And so when you come here and you have to wait, you have to be the first person in line to get these balcony seats here, that can make it tough because then you're standing out there for 45 minutes just so you can get a good seat. And I think everybody should get a good seat in the house. So I support this. I support these performing arts kids, and I hope more people do too. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Paula Curcio, and I live in Gray. I have a senior in high school, and my other son is in college now. I'm still a huge supporter of the arts. I hope that you hear what these people are saying and how important the arts are and how subpar this facility is compared to other schools around here. I work in Westbrook. I'm so fortunate to have the Performing Arts Center there. But it's really a disservice here to our children who work so hard and depend on the arts to stay in school and to thrive. And even though I have no more kids in the Greater Gloucester School District, I am in huge support of this and very willing to support the bond issue and whatever tax increase, if any, it will occur to me and my family, because it is so important. And just because my kids will be out of it doesn't mean the rest of these kids don't deserve that. Thank you.
So my name is Mary Kate McVicker. I have a sophomore here at the high school, and we are actually new to New Gloucester. We moved here last year, so this is our second year in the school district. And as a parent of two children, one who is now out of high school, for whom the music and performing arts were a home for them. And I really want to piggyback off the person who was here before that says everyone deserves a space. And one of the things that struck me about what Ms. Flynn said is the current spaces were never designed for what they are intended to be used. You have former locker rooms that are being used as classrooms. Would you want an English classroom being taught, or an English class being taught in a former locker room? I mean, that concerns me a little bit. And children see how the adults around them value them, often through what they are given. And if they do not have adequate spaces in order to have a really exceptional experience in high school, that concerns me a great deal. And one of the things that I also would like to piggyback off of the previous person, that their children may not be here anymore, but the impact of the schools on the community are incredible, and the performing arts also include those. We talk about sort of team events happening all of the time. And when you think about band, and you think about choir, and you think about drama, they are ensemble performances. They are team events for which the community turns out to support these children who are engaged in their activities. So I would also like to lend my voice to the support of this. I doubt that my child will likely graduate before they actually get to reap the benefits of this, but it doesn't matter, because there are other children who will find their home in the performing arts here. Even if there aren't other spaces here where they feel they have a home, they will find one there. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Annie Bishop. I spoke last week about athletics and here this week about the theater program, the arts program. I have 3 kids in the district, in the middle school, the Dunn School, and at Memorial School. So for us, it is super important for this bond to get passed, to get created, and to get voted on so that the next generation coming up has places to be home, right? I grew up in the theater, in the band, in all of those places, even in college and high school. So for me, this is really important, and I have kids that are doing that as well. One thing I think we didn't mention that is a problem as a parent that I can see is parking, and that goes for athletics as well as any type of performance, whether it's at the middle school, it's at the Dunn School, it's here. We have to separate and tier out all of our concerts so that we can fit people not only in the auditoriums but parking. So I think that's another problem. Thank you for listening, and we will support you guys.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Cookson. I have 2 seniors. I have one that plays sports, and I have one that is in chorus and in theater. And I don't know if this had come up, because I know that you guys talked about last week, because I was at the athletic one, and they were talking about, we're trying to go through this whole process again. And I thought it had been mentioned about giving an idea too, like for the athletics, when competitions throughout the community and other communities coming in and could pay to use our fields, or if we had a theater that was an amazing theater, would it ever be possible to kind of offset some of our costs by having this be rented out to other places because it is so nice and everybody wants to come here? So I just wanted to put that out there, that we could use this space for other places, not just our close community, but maybe other places want to come to us because we have such a nice place to perform. So, just a thought.
Hi, my name is Michelle Gerard, and I am the proud director of the GNG Middle School Drama Program. I started directing a long time ago, like 2008, 2009, and I look back in the old yearbooks, and there were 8 kids in the drama program, I think in 2003, 2004. We are now pushing between 60 and 70. I mean, that's a huge percentage of middle school students. I'm not sure what our numbers are exactly, but
we're at 500 right now.
So we're talking a lot, over 10%. Oh, that's a lot of students that participate in our drama program. So that has been super exciting to see, but we have run out of space. Currently, our assistant director, Valerie Sanborn, who was also a GNG alumni, had her in 8th grade. And we have to rehearse on the 2nd level of the middle school because stage crew needs to build our set, and there's no place to build the set. So until February break, stage crew has the stage, and then we're on the 2nd level. So we're backwards. So stage left and right get confused. And then after February break, I have to reteach 5th, 6th, and 7th, and 8th graders the new stage directions and get them used to that backwards kind of doing. But we do it. We absolutely do it, and I love that little stage. But the biggest thing for me is I can't tell you in my years of directing how many students have come to me and said, Miss G, which is my name at school, I wouldn't want to go to school if we didn't have drama. And that really hits hard. That is it right there. I'm like, wow, we're making a difference with a drama program. So along with academics, along with sports, all our extracurriculars, this is a safe haven for many students. And we need to recognize that and honor it. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sam Larrapy. You hear me? Good, thank you. So, I've been in the Greater Gloucester High School Band for the past 4 years, and my brother has been in it for the past 2 years. Overall, we've had a pretty good recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. That really hurt our numbers, but we're recovering. And I'd like to talk about the practice space we have as well, as part of the bond issue. So currently we are practicing in an old gym locker room as of the moment. It's right back there. It's concrete walls, very minimal soundproofing, and the ceilings are very low, which makes it pretty difficult to practice a lot of times because the acoustics of the instruments are thrown off, basically. We don't know what we sound like in a performance setting until we're actually out on the stage practicing 3 days before the performance. So that's something I wanted to bring up. The other thing is the acoustics of the stage. So as of the moment, the acoustics of the stage aren't set up optimally for band performances. A lot of the times we perform and a lot of the sound is actually sucked back into the stage, away from the audience, which is something that could be fixed in the bond issue, hopefully. And one more thing, our jazz band actually performs in that corner over there, which makes it kind of difficult for people to really hear them and hear them well, see them even. So that would be something that would be wonderful to address as well. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is,
Oh, there it goes. Hi, my name is Jared Bishop. I wear a lot of hats in this district. I am currently the middle school band director, but I'm also a father of 3, a middle schooler and 2 elementary schoolers. My new friend Zach said pretty much everything I want to say, but I'm one of those kids that I wasn't in school for anything other than the arts, and it saved my life. And I didn't know it at the time, but it was everything to me, and I want the kids that are like me to have that experience and to succeed because of what we do and what we provide for them, not in spite of that. I'm also selfishly would benefit from this because my kids are young enough to benefit from that, and also the kids that I teach would eventually benefit from that. So but that's good for me, but really that's what I want for my kids. I want my students and my children to have a safe space, because they don't always have that if this is what they're interested in. And Zach, you took all my words. Thank you so much. You're awesome.
Hi, I'm Alex McVicker. I'm a sophomore here at GNGHS, and I definitely I went to Wyndham for the District 2 Honors Festival this past weekend, and looking at the performance space and hearing the sound that we produced, and obviously numbers is an issue, but and there's definitely a difference there. However, the facilities that they have there, they are able to host all of these festivals. We're going there again this spring for our one-act performance. And we also last year went to Madomic Valley for one-act festivals. And seeing their performance space and how all of these people were willing to come and perform there and create beautiful things there, it's definitely something that, looking into the future, I would love to see at GNGHS. And this is, this place is my home, and I found a group, and I found a family here. And I definitely would want to see for the future generations that they could produce just as much beautiful memories as I have here in an even more beautiful space. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Finley Bishop. I am a 7th grader in middle school, and I am participating in both chorus, band, and drama. And I'd like to say our drama program is wonderful. Also, our band and chorus is also very wonderful. But we definitely don't have enough space for any of those. And it's very hard to do anything when we just don't have enough space. And we have to perform backwards, as Ms. G said. And it's very hard to switch over back onto the stage. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
My name is Emma Schaefer. I'm a part of the middle school drama and chorus, and a lot of times I'm in the band room for advisory, and there's definitely not enough storage room for anything, and the drums have to have signs on them to say we're not tables, because people disrespect the instruments, and the drama sets, a lot of times in my advisory, they run around the stage and they play on them like they are toys, and they're definitely not toys. And yeah.
I am Peter Curcio. I'm a senior at the high school. I'm in the concert band and the jazz band. Touching on what Sam had said earlier, the band performance center is basically a concrete box without any soundproofing to speak of. It's also very small. We have 20 some odd kids in the band right now. We can barely fit that in the band. If we get the big numbers that we have in middle school, like 70 kids, there's no way we're going to fit that into a concert hall like an eighth the size of this room. It's not big. It needs to be bigger. In addition to this, all of the facilities as a whole are kind of old and inadequate for the current situation that we have in our school system. I've been to many other schools and they have nice centers for the arts. They have the facilities to have the students do well. If we had better facilities, we could have more people go to these festivals like District 2 and Allstate and All New England. All of these are prestigious events, and going there helps to boost our school's reputation across the state. And we're able to do so much with so few, but if we had more, we could do much more. Thank you for your consideration.
Hi, my name is Chris LG, and just on Pete's note about numbers, I keep hearing if they get bigger, they're going to get bigger. I know anecdotally because 4 of the numbers live in my house. And they're in every program, I think, except jazz band, but Josh is learning drum sets, so maybe we'll get there too. And in every music program across the country took a big dip with COVID-19, and they're all coming back. So just bear in mind, it's not an if the numbers increase, the numbers are coming back up, and not just here, but everywhere. So we'd love to see better space for our shorties. Thanks.
All right, anybody else? This is your moment.
You want me to speak?
Yes.
I feel a little. I'm getting there. I feel a little strange because I do teach in this district, but I don't live in this district. So it's up to you guys to decide.
Mr. Walker, you have to stay there.
Oh, sorry. All right, I'll put it back. All right, here we go. So, but I've been here since 1988. I remember when the stage was over here, and this was a gym. It's not a gym anymore, and it came light years from when here to here. And this has been a lovely space, but we're still light years behind where everybody else is. For me, I guess the 3 things that I would like would be nice seating, because it's hard to play and charge people money and have to sit in a plastic chair. I'd like to have nice seating, better acoustics, and an easier way to get to the lights. Those are the 3 things that I would like, just basics. Everything else would be wonderful. But the acoustics in here are not very good. Without the mic, I can be heard in one spot, you can hear every word, other spot you can't hear anything. One of the interesting things is, when we first got in here was, we put the pit band over there. Because I said, it's out of the way, nobody's gonna sit over there. And the pit band started playing, they started singing, and they weren't together the whole time, because they couldn't hear each other at all. So the pit band now is over there, because we can't hear them. And this is an odd space. And it would be nice to have a theater. And I think I told Ms. Flynn, I'm a conservative as far as spending money. Any bond issues, I vote down. The only ones I ever vote for are the ones that deal with public education. Those are the only ones I've ever voted for, because I believe in public education and I believe in the arts. And this place, we have a lot of talented kids. And I love working with them. I've been doing it for 37 years. I've got another 8 maybe. We'll see. But I'd love to see this become an actual theater before I retire. That'd be lovely. I'm more than happy to answer any questions. I do know about this space. I've been here a long time. So if you have any questions, you can email me them or ask me. Is that good enough?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Carol Clark, and I'm the band director here at Greater Gloucester High School. First of all, I would like to thank all of you for the time that you've invested and the care and consideration. I've been here since 2005, when the performance space was the old gym, and I would have to push all of the risers and the drums and the shell across the snowy parking lot to get in. So this, again, to echo Mr. Walker, this space has been considerably better than our old facility in the gym. But as the years have passed, and I have done my very best to give a positive experience for our students, the education and the performance experiences, we do have to work hard. We have to work a little extra hard acoustically. In the classroom space, they have to trust me as far as what they're hearing, because in much of the space, the sound is a blur, so they rely on me until the week before the concert. We usually get 2 days to come onto the stage during our class period, and we adjust the dynamics, we adjust the balance, so that it sounds right. We have to make changes because it's such a different experience acoustically. It's hard, they have to work hard, they have to think on the fly, and they do beautifully, I'm proud of them. And then as Sam and Pete mentioned, our jazz band, our students have to bring the equipment, the lights, and the stands, everything down here into the corner. We do it, it's a labor of love, we love what we're doing, but it is logistically a challenge, and I appreciate all that you're doing to try to make this a fine space for our students and the generations to come. Thanks.
Okay, so that does bring us through the first hour. So we're going to move on to the workshop at this point. If you do have additional thoughts or gather your thoughts and want to send them an email, that would be great. This process is going to continue. We will work together again more next week here, likely in the library. You are more than welcome to stay. We will probably give a minute break here for people who do want to scoot out, and then we'll turn over to our workshop discussion. Again, more than welcome to come down if you want to stay in here. Thanks so much.
Yeah, we did that on our
Let's move into our discussion
He's my
Oh my gosh, I'm not.
Walker might assign us geometry somewhere.
So, before we get into, do we have any questions for, like, clarifying questions on what we saw from either, Emily or Sadie?
How many can you fit in here normally, like where we are now, when you fill the top and the bottom of the seats with chairs?
We've been able to fit the entire staffing, so we're around 300, yeah, 300, 325.
How many would you like to see if we did turn this whole thing into comfortable seating?
I think we had talked to, I think originally when we were talking about doing it was up to maybe 400.
An increase of 25 people, you mean?
What?
You said 325?
Yeah, when we had every single seat tight here to be able to get in, you know, move.
Yeah.
All staff is separate.
And you want 400 for future?
At least, yeah, I think that was what we were talking about for performances.
And even many performances, like Emily referenced, many performances, especially from middle school through elementary, are between 500 and 800. Yeah.
So honestly, yeah, the bigger the better, really.
Yeah, the
elementary
ones
are staged, yeah, like it's literally like kindergarten for a half hour and then first for a half hour, and like that's how they have to do it to fit everybody. And so yeah, the space is definitely tight.
And I think in a flip side.
I was just gonna say, I think they said they set up the chairs for high school play at around like 250. Is that the number of chairs we put out for high school play? 250?
250-ish.
250.
And sometimes they try to get 275, especially for openings.
Yeah. In the current setup, pretty much once you're in the second row back on that top part.
You can't see.
You can't see.
And during any concert, if you're in the back and you're not in the center, depending on where the rides are, it is difficult to hear as well.
Yeah. Jeff, how many students did we put in here when Don came to see?
We put 235, I think it was.
Yeah, it was, I think we have 350 minus 45, so 305, and we had about little over 250. I think.
Most of them down here.
Yeah, we
Because
put them on
they
the floor.
sat really so they can see.
We had every classroom but 2 here,
Yeah.
and then the afternoon pre-K was here, so it was probably 250-ish. It was great. It was great.
I heard And I think one part to keep in mind too, is even the practice space. Like I know Carol talked about, many people have asked, why can't they just band and chorus practice out here? If they can't fit in the classrooms, why can't they practice on stage? And when the morning's having breakfast and having students in and out, we can't tell students you can't get breakfast. Obviously we want the St. James Breakfast to serve breakfast. So if they are performing out here, there's a bunch of kids and again, practicing with all kinds of students, number one, for sound and also comfort. And we have many students that stop participating, unfortunately, in whether it's band, chorus, or drama, again, because of not having that private or somewhat private space to be able to practice as well.
Yeah, like when we do our dress rehearsal, when you're doing a rehearsal, sometimes we do come out and get on the risers, but you don't have a finished product, and so when your peers who, especially if they're not people who particularly like the arts, you're working on it and they're not nice and they're not quiet about it, there they are in an open space without supervision necessarily, because they're going in to get lunch and leaving to go and they're not. It's not nice, not a nice setup. It'd be if they had a private, if it was just a performing arts space, you wouldn't be dealing with kids who aren't participating in the arts having carte blanche to be, why is that?
So essentially, you can't ever have it be like a closed down locked space because of the food.
So we do that
Just for
2 days
dressing
before,
Okay.
and that is moving everything outside. So it's definitely a lot of movement just for those 2 days, but definitely important
It's a lot
to
of
do that.
coordination. We email, get ready, set the dates, and then shut it down just so they can have some privacy.
So, I got a question on usage. If we did an auditorium, we're talking obviously probably doing it here at the high school. As far as scheduling goes for the rest of the district, is that gonna be able to incorporate in this one space?
Yes, I mean, I think everything, the performances, for the most part, for the different theater show, they're all different. They're all at different times. And that was actually when I reached out to people to get information. I said, you know, if we do this, will you bring your groups over? And they said, oh yeah, we would want to use that space. And using the gym is a problem. We're really interrupting the athletic schedule when we use the gym for our performances and our rehearsals.
And kind of on that same topic, I heard a lot in your presentation about the middle school. So.
Right, I should have made it more clear that we would bring a lot of those performances over here, those groups over here.
But even so, even like practicing, I'm assuming, and I can only assume here, or is high school arts going on at the same time middle school arts are going on as well? Like
Yes, in terms of practice, I mean, I can't speak at the theater, they could use a better space. So if the theater was to use our space, they would use it for like the week before for final rehearsals and doing the performance. They would practice over there. Our rehearsal spaces for band and chorus in the middle school are very adequate. Like they're nice. It's performance over there. That building actually has a couple really great. The band room is beautiful, and I have a nice big room.
So we don't necessarily need a bunch of upgrades over there if we do an auditorium here. Is that
correct?
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure.
I mean, you can definitely upgrade over there. Go for it. But yeah, you're correct.
Craig, I know I've been dragging them around and not actually using them, but the poster size.
Oh, I did not.
It's okay. Do you remember what the draft one had their sheets? Or did it just have a block that said there were
There were different numbers that were used.
Okay, so we didn't use that.
Wasn't it 450-ish?
Just sounds familiar, but
I think the last estimate was 450.
We discussed it a number of ways, and we looked at different schools that had like 700, 800 seats, and those are just so big that the youngsters, their voices and the bands they're in, it's just too big.
Well, not only that, but half your performances feel like an empty house.
Exactly, and so.
You're better off having 2 performances to a full house than 1 to an empty.
And we looked at a lot of small colleges, some of them that can afford to build what they want, and they were building 350 and 450 size, yeah.
I'm sorry, I've tried to be quiet to 2 of these. The big mega spaces you're seeing built now, EL and some of those others, they're turning those spaces into the place you can bring your whole student population in for a meeting. The intent was never to do that when you built theaters. That was supposed to, the gym was for that.
Yeah.
You had this space where you could bring your whole population in. But the theaters have gotten gigantic. I work in Wyndham, and it's a beautiful space, but it's too big, too wide. You curtain off half of it. You close the audience down to try to make it fit. That seats 850. EL's is gonna be. It is 900 or 1,000. It's over 1,000. Yeah, over 1,000. Westbrook is 850 or something like that. It feels like an empty house if you have 400 people in that space.
Yeah.
So what this draft said was auditorium seats on rises were 250 and flat seats 200, so it was 450.
Okay, so that's.
Is what the estimate was.
That's a nice number, and if that were to happen, like the elementary school could just break into 2 performances instead of in shifts of mini grades, which would be okay.
What's wrong with having kids have another opportunity to perform?
Right.
We only do 1 weekend here of theater. I mean, What would stop us from having 2, except that we have to take the theater away from the cafeteria? I mean, there's nothing wrong with having kids have more opportunities to perform.
Yeah, most of our peers, their high school shows go more than one weekend.
Right.
It's pretty unusual, but, and I do think it is a promotion thing. I think it is hard to work hard to bring people into the space when you know the space you're bringing them into. Our family's hardcore arts, and we just kind of bring our grandparents because, the space, so.
Sadie, obviously you talk about arts and things like that. Is there anything as far as on a day-to-day student body that you would be able to use this space for as well?
For day-to-day, not for day-to-day. We do a lot, I'm thinking like Wednesday advisories. So like a couple times a week, I can see pulling grade level for different presentations, and we have paths. So I would say we could use it quite frequently between 1 grade level and 2 grade levels. But daily, I can't think of it off the top.
I don't know if this would count because it's not regular student, but I mean, like, I teach a musical theater class. Like, I would teach it in here. Like,
For classes, yes. For classes, absolutely, but for like large.
Yeah, I just was looking for other uses of the space other than the arts, that's all.
And staff professional development. I mean, we are definitely crammed in to have Ray move this all around for our PD, so we cram in the library. Which is a nice space, but again, it's definitely, so we could use that for staff PD weekly as well, for sure. But I can see advisory right now, some of our presentations are breaking into 2 different groups, it'd be really nice to have a class together for that presentation.
Yeah, I mean, and also what teachers do, it's like sometimes there are projects that they have students do presentations, like they could do them in here. They could invite families to, I mean, those are possibilities too. There's just a lot you can do. I mean, I remember when I worked at Brunswick, we had that big theater. I mean, the theater was just in use constantly, and also, like, guest thing, like I said, we've got the university singers and stuff. Like, they had a lot of guests come in to do things because we had a space that didn't interrupt food service. You could do that, which here we kind of avoided to some degree.
Yeah, and you mean guests for the benefit of the students.
For the students
not
to
like
see.
someone renting.
No, I mean like university singers are coming to perform for our students. And when we talked about it, you're like, okay, they can come in and they need to perform between this time and this time because we're gonna have, we have to have like lunch cleaned up and we have to have this and then they have to, and then buses, it's like, we don't have a lot of options.
And even a lot of our IB classes, we have dual enrollment speech class. We're opening all of these courses that I think the space would be used more because they'll invite staff. So anybody that has a prep period that's, I know Ms. Walker, Sheriff stepped out, does it quite often, invites all staff for the students to be able to perform or show their projects. So I can see that space being signed out, similar to the greenhouse, which is signed out periodically as well.
But I mean, after hours, it's used as much as any class. I mean, we talked about the hours. I mean, it's used for hours every day, after school, every day.
And how much do we use it for things, so when there's like banquets, etc., do those tend to be in here, or they do tend to be in here?
So our senior night, our banquet, our scholarship night, is all in here. We used to do the senior night in the gymnasium, but when you have, again, loads of tables and the sound, if you're in one part of the gym, you could hear, and the other part was more challenging. So that's been moved in here as well. And then all 3 seasons, athletic banquets are in here as well. And that was a challenge even in the fall banquet to fit. I mean, we had a lot of people just standing the entire banquet.
Every chair was full, and I was standing only in the back row.
You do that once a season?
Yes.
We've had many organizations, FAME, and different financially colleges that'll ask to come in and work with our families just for informational, and then they invite surrounding schools, but you need to have a certain amount of seats. So many of them have around 350, and then they'll invite all the surrounding schools to do the workshop here. And when they do the workshop here, they work with your students throughout the day too. So like our students get different perks for allowing it to be a nighttime workshop event. And we haven't been able to host one yet.
That screen or whatever you said behind the band to project the sound out,
Oh,
what's-
the shell?
Yes, what's that made of? Is it a wooden thing, or how do you, what's it? Is it a permanent thing? How is it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, no,
it's
no,
collapsible. It's like the
You
risers.
move
where you
it like
folds up.
risers, I'm sorry, it's not like built into the.
Yeah,
You would
it's a
use-
multi-piece shell.
It's not a
Yeah.
permanent part of the back.
No, it collapses and rolls away.
Yeah, because you wouldn't want it for a theater production, you use it for concert settings.
I see.
But yeah, it just allows everything on the stage to project forward.
Okay.
Rather than get lost up into the fly space.
And this is not, again, a reason to do it, but just supporting it as well as even when we had done school come over. I think we'd have many more times where we have all the elementary students and just as part of our productions and chorus and band, but again, it's time. So we had a very short window.
Very short.
I mean, with you guys, and then we're like, all right, time to go.
It was like herding cattle.
And even that, we had students because of past that were getting lunch, it was a little bit disruptive.
Yeah, well, and we also have the chorus come over, Emily brings the chorus over to Dunn, and we have the band, Carol brings the band over for 2 separate performances in the spring. And though that would actually work better at a space here to come here, because right now you're having to bus all the instruments over, especially, of course, obviously it's mostly just the kids, but the band is having to bring all of their instruments, everything over, and it would be nice to have them be able to be set up and just us come in, and that way they're in a more comfortable space to perform.
We love seeing them come visit.
I think we discussed it, I think it was at last meeting or before that, but, talking about space and storage, and classrooms, and things like that, this is definitely gonna be a domino effect, right? Because obviously we need the extra space here. Well, if we do convert this to an auditorium, I can only safely assume that the classrooms or old locker rooms, whatever you want to call them back there, are going to be converted into other spaces. So then what are we going to do with that space, right? We need to relocate that somewhere else. And now we're talking about possibility adding a gym.
Wait, say that part again.
Because if we
So-
expand back here,
Mhm.
the 2 chorus and band rooms, right, we'll be taking up that for storage and for whatever else that needs to be for the backstage. Am I correct on that? Right, we need more.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the need for storage, and I don't know how we would work that, and then there has been discussion about, well, what if we blew those walls out in the back, and you can go back, there's space back there to go out, I mean, yeah, our classrooms are huge, I mean, we focus more on the theater, but that's more of a community space, but the classrooms are totally inadequate, so I mean, I think to plan to do it without some sort of talk for expansion for those rooms.
The music rooms were never designed to be music rooms. The stage was never designed to be a stage, and the cafeteria was never designed to work well as a cafeteria. Truly. They're all compromises to make the space work. Those music spaces are horrible.
What Gary said, the big overriding thing in all of these projects is that these spaces were not designed to be used for what they're being used for, versus everything else we've talked about. This was absolutely, none of this space was designed for what it was being used for. And to me, that's the biggest difference between all the projects that we're really talking about, and how do we fix that?
This space wasn't finished. I mean,
Well,
it was converted 17 years ago.
Yeah, and
they didn't really finish what they started.
Right, and this was an upgrade. I mean, I taught in this room, and I remember the stage there, it was horrendous.
The Lego gym.
It was horrendous, and we had what was called sport court. It was like Lego material on the floor, and they were performing on a stage over there.
High-shaped stage.
And it was wide open. I mean, there was nothing in this room for acoustic.
We built
for
extensions.
acoustics. Yeah,
With plywood.
and this was a significant upgrade, but the the comment that I heard last week from Angie Bishop, and she spoke again tonight, was modernizing. And I think that's the key, right? We need to modernize to meet the needs of our kids. They have put out tremendous performances for years, whether it be in band, chorus, or the one-act plays, all the drama productions. You know, they have done so much with less, and I just think it's time to modernize for them.
You know, even someone mentioned science classrooms last time. We redid the science classrooms here 2 years ago.
Right.
We dug up the entire floor. We were dirt. We put in new gas lines. We put in new equipment. We put in new tables. We did the science rooms, you know, so we brought those up and modernized them. And, you know, you're right, we haven't touched these, and to start off being not adequate, not spaces that they're supposed to be used for is a tough one. When you look at the stage and you see, I mean, up close and personal, yes.
And someone brought up a good point too, is every day, and Ray does an incredible job, he is one person trying to obviously take care of an entire high school, and he is running. I mean, you've seen people, I mean, he's constantly running. But every day after school, the students are cleaning up the stage, because again, we use that as cafeteria space. That's part of our seating. So that definitely does a lot of wear and tear on the stage as well. And then there's food, and even, you know, picking it up, and it's definitely a lot.
And it is scary. I was proud of the student for mentioning it, and then of course you're a little bit like, oh, right. You know, they do a pretty good job of keeping things locked up and safe during the day, but, you know, someone is in the mood or like takes a spin back there and finds, you know, something to get into, or even like steps on a nail, screw from, you know, they're like overlapping each other.
Well, we also just find students, like, you know, because they come when they're done with eating, you know what I mean, and then they're just slip back there, and then like, what's in that curtain? That's so interesting.
They learn by doing, touching. And I know one of the things at one point on the seats from the earlier, I feel like we've been doing a really thorough job, but part of it is we're kind of starting over or looking at it fresh, but also looking back at what the work was done. And I think there was an option where the seats in the back could pull up or down in here as well, which, you know, I don't even know how useful that is.
There was talk.
They have some very nice ones.
No, well, that's what Wyndham has.
They have high backs with armrests, they're cushioned, and they fold back up against the wall.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
And those are very nice chairs.
Yeah.
Which gives you the flexibility, then you can push them back and then have open space if you need floor space for additional practicing or things like that, where you're not locked into having tiers built and they're stationary and they're permanent. You can roll these back away. You know, it's an option. You have to look at price and weight.
Well, and that already got looked at. If I remember correctly, the price was almost the same.
I think that's what I remember.
And I think there's a little decrease on the seating when you put the fold-in ones away, but it really wasn't that much, and the price was very comparable from my understanding. I just can't remember what the prices were.
And they're very nice chairs.
Yeah.
They're cushioned with armrests, seat backs, they fold down and slide away.
Yeah, that was my concern when I went to Wyndham the first time, was I heard like the pull-out chairs, and I was like, oh
no,
gosh. No, they're very nice. They are nice.
And even for the floor, I mean, people pay top dollar to sit on the floor at a basketball game, and they're folding chairs, so
What else on this one?
Unless you could use some, if you did do a permanent chair, you could use the underneath for storage, if we need storage, like that, too.
but how much would it really, you know, depending upon how high they go and how far they pull out, I mean, how much underneath storage would you really
Yeah, I don't know.
get? And then, I mean, even if they fold out, you'll have the underneath for storage. And you can only close off a certain, maybe 3 rows would only be able to collapse. And then you just have to look at the measurements and the dimensions and see what it'll buy, you know.
And I know in that seating too, it had just plopping them in here flat. It didn't have a grade on these seats down here, which, you know, I just don't know how useful that is for the, you know,
So
how far along was that drawing? Was all this stuff gutted? I don't know that we know, unless Craig, do you know?
I feel like that would be something that we definitely need to talk about. I know we heard even during our fall tours was just storage is an issue, and so definitely for any program, it's expensive equipment. Like we definitely want to make sure that can get locked up.
Okay, seats on the floor is flat. So, clearly we're moving towards going back and asking for more ideas, more drawing, more problem solving. What things does this group want to see that include for this space?
Does the stage stay the same in all of this, you know? Some parts of size.
Yeah, and the one drawing we got, it didn't even touch the stage.
But we did have a concern about the band and stuff and where that would go. We didn't really have a good location that still lived on the floor or something, so.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
When the first original design, it stayed as it was, but it really didn't have a good house for the band or anything, so that was still living on the floor. So I mean, the whole thing, just like Polly probably has to be relooked at.
So,
Wasn't it all the, but not right, exactly, obviously redoing it.
so I've been thinking a lot about this, and this building is pretty old, and certainly not warranting a new building for school education, definitely not, because it's built with cement. Thing isn't gonna fall apart. Interior could be redesigned or something like that, but, you know, not major. And I'm looking at that and thinking that we want to go now and put brand new stuff in an older building. It evidently will meet our needs for the future of this building, as well as, you know, the district-wide according to the survey you've done. And so I'm way away from what you guys are talking about. I can't imagine wasting money to reconstruct in an old building when no one's explored the idea how much it would cost to build a separate building. We have plenty of land, and if we're not looking for today, we're looking for the future. If we're looking into the future, we also have to think about the impact on traffic and coming onto Route 26, and a new entrance and exit to the property, as well as one we have now. So you have to increase that. You have to think about that as well. You have to think about parking, increased parking. I mean, there's a lot to think about. It seems like everyone's concentrating right inside when they haven't looked outside and the surrounding. Now, maybe some have thought about it, but I think that if you're doing planning for the future, that's what you need to look at. Possibly maybe having a separate auditorium or theater or whatever you want to call it, performing arts, whatever the word may be, and then, fix this up a little bit, for cafeteria and other types of events, that might be beneficial, storage in the back, for missing storage and stuff. So to meet more future needs, but from what I've seen so far, the numbers to increase attendance won't be paying for much from what, I'm talking off just what was presented so far. Certainly wouldn't pay for bonds, but, it could pay for equipment and that type of thing, for increased attendance. I really think the direction this group should be looking more with an open eye into the future and probably, be looking at a separate building and have the Performance Art Center there. And it can become even not a community center to supply fiddleheads and the rest of them with a space. That isn't a goal here at all. If fiddleheads wants to have Performance Art Center, they should build their own. If they can't afford it and they want to rent out, well, that's what they can do. I mean, that's their business. It's not the district's business. We shouldn't be planning around anyone like fiddleheads or anyone else. We need to plan for us only. And then if something else, if it's not being used enough, then we could bring in other people or have seminars or whatever you want to do in that building. But, and I think the point was well taken with Wyndham. They spent all that money and they have, they messed up in their planning evidently. So I think that's a good example of why we really need to take a step. My personal opinion is that we need to take a step back and look at the whole picture and perhaps start concentrating on a separate building for performing arts. I think that would show to the public that there's forethought and energy put into the future for this district. And perhaps, we'll now have a new town manager, as everyone has probably read, and I'm hoping good news for economic development in this town. And then we can start affording more things with, new direction, with new leadership. So there's a lot to look forward to, and I think this should be one of them. And I think this is not a, I think I'll stop there.
All right, and I thank you for bringing it up and encouraging the group to create, we don't have to go off of drawings that were done now 4 or 5 years ago. We should be looking at them, but the whole point of our group was to say, have we answered the community's questions that were remaining, what are the needs, and what do we think our options are? So I'm hoping that's what we could actually dig into next week and say, okay, we've heard all these things. I'm going to try to bring some big bullet points from each group and then say, like, let's talk about it. What kind of things could we ask to be provided ideas on?
No, I was going to save that for the next meeting.
Yeah.
What I just said.
That's okay.
And listening to everybody, I kind of think that maybe we should be mulling this over. It's a big step, and I think we should be mulling it over as something to think about, so we're a little bit better prepared. Maybe some people can do some exercise on the outside and look at cost, or a typical cost or something like that for the next meeting to help have this group go forward. Do some comparisons and that type of thing. It's not like anything's a bad idea, it's just that if we're looking for the future, let's look to the future and not sit inside the box and try to fix it up. Renovate. I know all about renovation, it's a pain in the butt. It really is. I often wonder, why don't I just build new,
I think a small example of this came up last week with athletics, of saying, like, are we thinking carefully? I think it was your idea, Fran, can we pull out lockers from another area, which maybe, and then also what's behind those lockers? What happens when you pull them out? Was it cheaper to get a new locker or to use them and you don't use them?
I mean, a new building would really, solve a lot of the problems, because then this space just needs to be retrofitted as a dedicated cafeteria. Nothing needs to be expanded then for the cafeteria, for seating and lunches, and you would have a building designed with enough space for the future going forward, even though there's conflicting studies that the district's not going to grow, and then you hear that there's anticipation that it is going to grow. So we don't know. You have to be, but then what's the price tag going to be on that? Fixed, new, with, pros and cons again.
Fran, were you just thinking as like a performing art space or like performing arts and gym? No, I'm just saying like your new the building idea. Are you thinking just a performing art space, performing arts and gym? Like, I guess I'm just trying to envision like, are we talking like a South Portland Community Center kind of vision or just performing
No,
arts?
just performing for band and all what they need, you know, the band and the chorus and
The
all
practice
that,
room.
have the space to practice, you know, and storage for their stuff, and, you know, I've been to a lot of concerts in Thompson. Has anybody been to those, you know? And you, of course, seated all the way up into God's country, you know, an elderly person going all the way up there, you know, and they don't get any better vision way up, you know, blood, what's it called? Blood.
Line of sight?
No, when they're way up on the top.
Oh,
Nosebleed section. But then again, you know, between each performance, you have to wait for everyone to pick up their equipment, head out, and another group comes in and brings in their equipment, you know, and constant moving and changing chairs and all that kind of stuff in between each. And that's a dedicated building just for them, you know, the performing arts. So I'm not quite sure that's the kind of design, but that's what the design people will do. But, you know, experiences from all the places you've been, you know, different people, would be a good input to create something that would work really well for a town like ours. But no gym, nobody else, no, just them.
Okay.
Which makes sense.
The land we're talking about, so where would that place performing arts? Like how far from this building and like? So
Or
how
you
would
could put
that-
an addition on this
how would
building, I
that
missed
work?
that part too. Also, maybe not a separate building, maybe an addition. I don't know any of this stuff. I just know that.
I'm just
these
saying, like,
ideas-
you said to go home and mull it over, so I'm
Yeah, right,
thinking, one of the
exactly.
things I would mull over is like, at that point, like, would students have to leave the building and go to a separate building to take music classes and, which, I mean, that sounds like almost like a college campus kind of setup, which for dealing with minors is different, you know, I mean, and I don't know, and also with dealing with Maine is a little bit.
Well, I mean, the kids are walking around in shorts and t-shirts.
I know,
Obviously,
in the
it doesn't
wintertime. Come
bother
on,
them
get real.
Going from one building to another, they're in Hannaford, wandering around. I mean, if they've got to go 10 yards to a different building, they're young, they can walk it, you know, it's.
I ran many a time down through the courtyard and it was not closed in to get to gym. But it doesn't mean that I did it, but that doesn't mean I love to do it.
Well, if it's Santa Monica gives you a, you know,
Conceptually.
Yes, you had options.
No, this is a good idea. It's something, yeah, and I meant to say in addition to, yeah, in addition to this building.
The district has plenty of land.
Right.
We've got plenty of land that could be built on.
And one more thing on my point, when I was talking about the driveway, entranceway, a road, or whatever you want to call it, is you don't want to build something or add on to something and not take that into consideration, because you might be doing that and blocks your opportunity to be able to have, you know, parking and more transportation coming in off the campus. So that's another thing to be thinking about, parking and the road, and situating a building or an addition along with that idea too, so.
I think that would certainly have to be part of the whole
Absolutely.
planning board process,
Absolutely.
design and everything, all those things would have to be taken into consideration. Yeah, and regulations, for sure, even if it's just an addition, it would still need to be that.
Oh, yeah.
If I remember correctly, that was some of the frustration with some of the early drawings that were included at gym, that they were just like plucked right down on what was like currently perfectly good for the parking space.
They addressed different areas.
Right,
to
that it
changed parking and student space or whatever, so anything that we work on will have to include those types of things.
I mean, I think I said kind of what I was thinking, modernizing and yeah, I mean, the kids have done so much with less for so many years. And I started here in '96 in this building, and the performances were incredible. The band was, I mean, it's just great work, but never had a really adequate facility. Like I said, this was an upgrade, but it was just an upgrade at the time.
Yeah.
We needed more.
And the kids are super proud.
Absolutely.
You know, they don't. My daughter does transparency, my daughter does all the things in performing arts, and she just loves it. She's just like, we are the best. I love our space. It doesn't matter. You know, and then she goes to 1X and she's like, oh, they have seats, you know, it's fine, whatever, we don't need those, you know, so, but, and then goes to another school and is like, oh, they also have seats.
Well, when you put our theater groups up against other groups around the state, they are at the top year after year. And they have been for a very long time. And they should be proud. I mean, that's kind of looking back at all the pictures around the room and the performances and the banners and just, you know, they have a lot to be proud of. We need to match what we're providing them with what they produce.
Yeah, that's the same thing, we have their basketball program.
Absolutely.
And I didn't put you on the spot, but I was just gonna start singing around the room because we're getting close. Thoughts and,
no, I just, I've seen a lot of what the outdoors are in the kind of area of Wyndham and Westbrook, and so I tend to agree that programs we're planning, our students are doing a great job, and I just think that what could we do more in our space and the revenue opportunities, potentially.
Cool. We're just going around to like wrap up.
Honestly, I don't, the only thoughts I have is that I think we need to do a list of what we need, what we wish for, and what the architects, you know, if we want to keep a fairly close footprint to what we have, let them know that. If we want to expand out, let them do the work and let's see the options. I think we could what if this until cows come home and we're never going to reach a.
No, we were just looking at if we keep this the cafeteria and make the ops gym and that space that we were thinking of putting the cafeteria, the performing arts center, but I just don't know if it's going to be big enough. So I would say stick with what we had for an original plan as far as blowing the back of this out, keeping this as the place we're going to convert into a really nice theater. And the one thing I haven't really looked at is how do we blow the gym up? What does that do to parking and things like that? If we did extend the gym, make that a bigger gym. So it'd be adding two things. You'd be adding on to the gym to make it a more facility, and you'd be adding the cafeteria like the original plan was. It may be a two-level cafeteria, but it would be enough. You know, you get, at this first meeting, you mentioned the one thing that affects every single student in the high school is the cafeteria. The one thing all the students said collectively was the cafeteria. So, you know, we should end up with a nice state-of-the-art college campus kind of feel cafeteria with space for kids that don't like big tables, you know, so we get a nice cafeteria. You already have this could be converted into a very nice theater space and blow out the back wall to increase the storage. Keep your oxygen. And as you mentioned earlier, not a lot of detail has been put into expanding the gym and the gymnasium itself. So maybe have the architects take a look at what it would take to maybe even turn the gym and extend it out, create some new parking, create a gym here. I like thinking outside the box and looking at another building, but in Maine, I think it makes sense to keep them kind of connected, you know, so that they can go to the cafeteria and not worry about going outside or going to some other place for another gym or performing arts. Does that make sense?
Yes,
First of all, Emily, good job on the presentation. It's informative to kind of learn about different spaces and what the space needs and what you need. I just want to piggyback on a few things. I think what Diane said, this space, a lot of these spaces weren't designed for what they're used for. To add on to what Rod was just saying, I do think this has a lot of potential to be a good theater space. Having, like I mentioned at the last meeting, I've kind of went through this process before. That we built a new school. Theater space was incredible. We had enough seats to fit the entire student body, so we also, the performing arts were in there, but also we had assemblies and recognition events and scholarship nights and all kinds of different things. So I think thinking of it in that regard as well. I don't know, I'm no architect, that's for sure, but I do think that the potential is here. And maybe looking at what we have with the oxygen and moving some things around, whether it's blowing this wall out, pushing that wall that way, and really creating a nice space in here. I think it's easy. It's easy to compare ourselves to different districts. I've heard a lot about Whitman and Westbrook tonight. I think those are probably the gold stars and those standards, but we can really create something here that gets
So, thinking in terms of solutions, I mean, we have a problem here, the form doesn't follow function. We're talking about kids disrespecting the stage because there's food there. Well, they're not disrespecting the stage. We're telling them to eat there.
Yeah.
So, but one of the things I want to consider is, I love going to the concerts, especially the Memorial and the Russell ones because they're so cute. But they're performing in the middle school gym, parents sitting on bleachers. Miss Flynn has to roll the piano from one end to the other because band's playing, now I gotta move the piano over here. So I think whatever solution we come up with should, in terms of a performing arts stage, be the place where the high school can perform, the middle school can perform, and the concerts can perform. I wouldn't want to invest a lot of time and money and effort to have a new performing arts space at the high school and then say, oh, our kids from Russell and Dunn, and well, not Dunn, but Russell and Memorial are going to continue to perform on an inappropriate space. I want something that whichever school is having some kind of premier performance would be able to use this stage and serve all 1,800 kids. I said that in one breath.
Good, you're good? Yeah. I heard a lot from you tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing, we referenced like Westbrook and we hear a lot about, but actually, Eric and I were thinking the other day, I said, to someone had said, well, we don't always need to keep up with the Joneses, but I said, is that really what we're talking about at this point? We started naming the towns that are all of the towns, and every single one has an upgrade. We're just about the last ones that at this point that have not, because cafeterias were everywhere. At Falmouth, that's what they had. At Greeley, up till they built this, that's what they had. But everybody at this point has made the jump to a formal auditorium. I think we're just about the last school in the area left when I think about the different facilities we've all been to for different. So we're overdue.
Do you know of any, I said, love to go out before next week and see if I can find some photos. Do you know any schools that have a good size, like how we said, we don't want West, we don't, we're not trying to do Westbrook Cast, but who has a nice auditorium that seats? Oh, 340. Yeah, that's a good size.
Yeah, Falmouth I think is 350, but Falmouth is a touch small.
Yeah, it is.
I think
Really?
It's got the second level.
Really, it's 550.
Really huge. Well, in terms of the whole.
Brunswick is like 600.
Brunswick
doesn't feel.
Cumberland County, and just ask
Oh,
how
yeah.
many, and that way we can kind of have a
Brunswick
chart of
doesn't feel
who's
as crazy.
Winter
feels huge.
It was really, yeah,
Winter feels huge. Brunswick felt, I remember, our place did not feel empty. I think that was a 600 person theater and it felt okay.
It was just really helpful to even see that picture of Freeport's cafeteria that we found, you know, of like, what are we imagining?
500.
Really? Yeah. And it's very steep. I don't know if anyone's been to Greeley, but in the upper section, like you are like,
okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so maybe we can find some sample schools who have that right. Oh, right, they just have
that would be a huge,
It shows we're kind of getting there, because now we keep asking for things and the answer is the architect.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure there's like ways they handle storage and stuff for this kind of equipment that we don't even know about. Like how to set that up.
The only thing I have to say is about, maybe the process next week. You mentioned it a little bit about really getting down to people's more specific ideas so that when you do have those conversations with the architects, we can have that list of things that people thought were important that we want them to pick up on and touch base on. And that's what would be really important for that next step. To really get a handle on, whether it's cost or whatever we're looking for, designs, costs, because that is going to take a while. So we need to get our thoughts together and really do a healthy list.
I do agree. I just want to make sure I was clear, Greg, that our students do not disrespect. Like that they actually take pride in it. And our drama kids will be the ones up sleeping, just like in athletics, taking care of the court. So I think that's they definitely do take care of it. But I think I agree. With Cole at this point, like making a list and sort of just throwing it out there and saying this is sort of what we want, and we're getting a more realistic drawing. I do love the idea of the second level path, just by putting my principal hat on. I do have some concerns, depending on how that'd be for staffing. Sure. We have supervision, we have challenges, and also we do have high school students, so sometimes if an apple or something, like just my mind of like going to that hat. I love the idea and the looks of it, but I know even within our library, it's kind of challenging sometimes with that upper level. So just throwing that out there.
I don't think I have anything else right now.
I don't know, I'm just thinking, there's so many different options and so many different avenues that have to be researched and looked into. I don't see much progress getting made at this point because we're still saying, well, maybe this, maybe that. There's many moving parts to this, and I think this is a disservice to Gray to Gloucester when constantly being told, compared to all the other districts and saying, oh, this town has this, they have that. We've got to look at when were those facilities built? How old are they compared to Gray, New Gloucester High School and our district? What is their tax base that they can afford this massive theater? We might not be able to afford all that. We haven't narrowed down the necessities into a concise list yet of what is absolutely necessary right now to proceed. And I think that's what we need to do. We can't compare ourselves and get envious of what others have. We need to look at what we need and not compare ourselves to all the other districts and say, oh, they have this, we have to have that. It doesn't work that way. Even as a homeowner, you see what your neighbors are doing. Oh, they're putting an addition on. I want that. Oh, but we can't afford it. I don't care, we're gonna do it. You get caught up in these things and you gotta take a step back and look at it and say, we've got 4 major portions. The biggest thing that impacts the entire school is the cafeteria. But there's another piece that we haven't discussed yet, and that impacts every school building, all staff, all teachers, all students, and that's the HVAC systems. And that's millions of dollars, and we haven't even talked about that. That's something that's not shiny that everybody's gonna see, but that's an issue that really impacts everybody and all buildings. Then it would be the cafeteria, so they can vacate this space and turn it over then to redesign if we don't go with a separate building. So there's like a domino effect. So, you know, we've got to look and see what's HVAC gonna run. You estimated 10 million, but what substantiates that 10 mil? You know, you're hoping the state will kick in 3, but we're not gonna know that yet. So you're just gonna expect to say, all right, it's gonna run us 10. So right then and there, that you only got 15 left off your bond. How are you gonna work that and make that work for the needs to be met? So got to take these things into consideration with the big picture. Everybody wants everything modern, everything new, everything shiny, but it can't be that way. You know, this is a big process. This is a big ordeal to go through, and it's got many moving parts. So, and given the time with the June push, I don't see it happening in June, based on this is February 1st now. Okay.
So, I think it was during our first meeting, to that point about the money, and I think that's kind of where it got derailed a little bit the last time the committee somewhat was formed this. Again, what I just said is that we need to be looking at what our needs are and what our wants are, giving it to the architects, letting them do their thing. I understand that money is going to play a part in that, but we can start whittling down from there is what we need. As far as the time frame goes, I don't want to see this group get pigeonholed into a time frame. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, then that's what it is. Because going into this, the only reason why I agreed to be on this committee this time is that it needs to be done right. And last week we heard from the taxpayers. Tonight we heard from them. They want it done correctly. They know that it might cost some money, but they want it done correctly. And that's one of the biggest things that I've heard, and that's one of the biggest things I believe in, is it needs to be done right. So as far as the time frame goes, if we get it done by June, great. If we don't, well then so be it. Then we just push it out. But I don't want to see our minds start trying to make a deadline, because I don't even think that that's practical at this point.
True.
So I just don't want to get derailed and get discouraged by that.
Haste makes waste.
Yeah.
See, many projects tank because they just push through trying to make a deadline, and it's not complete, and they just fall apart, and it's usually a greater expense in the long run.
I agree. And I think that puts us in a great position for next week's discussion. I really do encourage folks, I'll get these notes cleaned up tomorrow and sent out. And if folks can take time over the week to sort of review the different things we've looked at, pull out what are we hearing are the true needs, wants, wish list, and then we can really workshop it and come up with a great list of the architects. We will also be provided the stream of our meetings, so they can take a look at those as well. And I know we talked about perhaps talking about surveying staff and students. That's something that we're doing that next week, or something easy, accessible, but we can get some input. So I totally agree that we should do this right, and really enthusiastic about it. And I hope that we do not get discouraged, and just keep moving forward. All right,